I know not everybody can relate to this, but does anybody else have like these crazy random panic moments where you think a camera is like recording? Not in the sense of like being spied on by the government or some shit like that. I've already made my point on this whole thing. I know a lot more people expand on it at this point, but what are they gonna spy on me for? Jerking off and playing video games? Like, give me a break. Sure, it might be a controversial topic to some people. Some people feel real strong about government type shit, but you know, not talking about politics or anything. But speaking of things that are rustling some Jimmy, I have some videos lined up for some many anticipated food related videos. Certain things that I've been trying to eat for a while, I made it work. You know, the more and more that people talked about Modern Warfare having like all these windows and lines of sight and shit, it's really not that different from these other games. I noticed for Modern Warfare with all of like the windows and shit, these maps aren't entirely different, but one of the biggest, most frustrating things about it, I'm assuming was probably just a time to kill and other shit like that combined with just not knowing the maps. Once I learned the maps, it got easier and easier and didn't seem nearly as random and ridiculous as I originally thought. And it's like, yeah, sure, don't like, you know, freak out about it, you know, it seems it's a little ridiculous to sit there and assume all the maps are complete dog shit over, you know, you just don't know the maps, you know? That's a simple observation, but usually Call of Duties don't have that adjustment period. Does that make sense? In that amount of time, I ended up learning the spawns by the second weekend or so, but fuck, it was really frustrating. So the fast time to kill, combined with the fact that I don't know the flow of the game, haven't adjusted my playstyle or anything like that. Is it just me, or do the rest of these Call of Duties feel different after Modern Warfare came out? Speaking of Modern Warfare, they recently had that campaign trailer come out, and it looks real, like as far as the actual graphics go, I'm pretty sure it's like a CG trailer, it's not the actual graphics, but it looks really good. Stylistically, everything, it just looks like a Modern Warfare game. It looks so good. And I haven't actually been like really into these, you know, campaign series and stuff like that. Like I've played them, but I didn't really care for the story, don't really care for the characters, don't really care about any of that shit. Like I understand the significance of Ghost and Price and Soap and all these other guys. Like I understand it, but like I don't really care that much. No offense to anybody else that does. I'm not saying it's bad or anything, but for me, I don't really give a fuck. I'm there to play multiplayer mainly. Now here's the thing. Next to the game looking incredible with this, you know, campaign and all this other stuff, which I also, by the way, I kind of want to make a whole like series on the campaign. Let me know if you guys want me to do that. I'll just play out full missions and shit like that, play it on like maybe a harder-ish difficulty. Not veteran, I'm not doing a full playthrough on veteran. I don't give a fuck what you guys say. That shit is not worth the stress. Sure, could get likes, could get views, could get all this other shit, but for my mental health, but I might play it on like normal or hardened or whatever the fuck, whatever the difficulties are. Who knows? Maybe I'll change my mind when it gets there. Maybe I will play veteran. Who knows? So let me know what you guys think about that. But here's the controversy. Dude, what the actual fuck? I can't get a read on where the fuck these guys are going. It's so weird. After playing all these ridiculous modes with all of these different players all over the map, for some reason this shit feels different. I miss getting all those kill streaks that controlled lobbies. It made people like stay inside, or you could force them into certain areas because they're afraid to go outside and shit. They don't want to fuck around with all the kill streaks and stuff. I miss being able to control lobbies like that. Past few Call of Duties, unless I'm running like a full party, I always felt like I couldn't really keep control of spawns and other things like that. So I'm not really sure when the news came out or how it came out or whatever, but Activision, Infinity Ward, or whatever have revealed that they're going to be having the Spec Ops mode in the game, which we kind of knew about. Spec Ops mode, I think, was in Modern Warfare 3. I remember playing it on Modern Warfare 3 maybe like 2 or 3 times or something like that, but I'm somebody that just plays multiplayer. I'm not somebody that plays like, I don't mean for it to sound offensive, but it's a pretty obscure mode in all of Call of Duty, really. The biggest things for Call of Duty is the campaign, the multiplayer, and zombies. Those are always the biggest things in Call of Duty. I feel like for most casual players, most people just end up picking up the game, playing through the story and stuff like that, enjoying themselves, and then maybe they'll do multiplayer, but probably not. Multiplayer is filled with a bunch of sweaty ass people and all this other shit, and then zombies, those people are like grinders. They look for their Easter eggs and all sorts of other shit. But as far as Spec Ops goes, didn't really, you know, hear much about it. There have been some videos obviously uploaded to YouTube of people like doing whatever challenge or whatever thing that's pretty impressive or ridiculous for the mode, but past that point, I don't necessarily recall anybody in my years being a quote Spec Ops player. Or have we gotten anything like Spec Ops in the past few years anyway? So it just kind of seemed like a mode that was just kind of done, you know? Tried it out, you know, some people liked it, some people played it, but it really wasn't that deep of a mode. Apparently Spec Ops is going to be exclusive to PS4, or the Spec Ops Survival mode. I don't know the fucking difference between that and anything else. Apparently this survival mode under the Spec Ops playlist or mode or whatever the fuck it is going to be exclusive for PS4, not just for a month, not for a week, for a fucking year. Now, clearly people are upset about this. Now, here's the thing. I'm gonna come clean right now. I don't give a single shit about that game mode. at all. I'm not gonna play it. I don't give a fuck about it. I don't know anyone that gives a fuck about it. But having exclusive content like a full-blown game mode, like a full section of the game be exclusive to a separate platform in itself is pretty ridiculous. But not only that, it's for an entire fucking year. Just because I don't give a shit about it, I'm pretty sure most people won't actually even play this shit. It's still pretty disgusting. Also, I don't really understand the whole deal that they struck up. I really don't, because who the fuck is gonna go out of their way to buy a PS4 just so they can play Spec Ops Survival specifically? I just don't see people doing that. Before it made sense for the whole, you know, DLC and stuff like that. That all made sense, even though that was kind of a whole shitty thing. But, you know, me, I have all the consoles and all this other shit. But obviously, most people don't. Most people are just gonna go and get the shit that their friends are on, and that's it. Also, from what I know, you know, it's supposed to be a pretty small part of the game as far as Spec Ops go. It's a portion of the game, maybe 20-30% of the game. I don't know, maybe even 10%. But then you go past that point, not just Spec Ops in itself, but a mode within Spec Ops. Now, here's the thing. What if that whole, you know, survival mode of Spec Ops, that's exactly what I think of whenever I think about Spec Ops mode. Whenever I think about Spec Ops, I think about that survival mode where, you know, you just sit there and have waves and waves of shit come your way, and you guys basically just try to survive as long as you can. It's not nearly as good as zombies, but it's there. It's not exactly like zombies, though, because it's like AI that are actually shooting you and all sorts of other shit. They got juggernauts that are coming out the cut. Now, anything outside of a good, healthy economic system with multiplayer, I don't really give a fuck. And also the whole rumored BR mode. If it was for a month or something like that, I wouldn't even talk about it and just kind of be like, yeah, typical Activision, you know, whatever. But a whole fucking year for a small game mode that I feel like no one's even gonna go out of their way to buy a PS4 just to play this shit. Like, for a whole year for Call of Duty is literally the game's life cycle. The next Call of Duty will be out by then. It just doesn't really make sense. It's almost like Activision came to the developers and was like, all right, listen, this is how we're gonna do it. Since we're not gonna be charging people for this BR mode, it's rumored to be a standalone free thing, but I don't really know. They had to make up for their loss in some way, so they're just ramping up a random ass thing. And they're looking at it and go, people probably aren't gonna play this mode. Instead of thinking that a shit ton of people are going to or not play this mode, let's just put a shit ton of time, a significant amount of time that we think would be equal to the amount if people were to be playing it for the entire year. So they're like, yeah, we'll just have like a huge period of time where it's exclusive for this, and then that, I guess that seemed like a good deal to them. But to me, as a businessman, given I'm not a good businessman, it just doesn't really seem worth it for them. It just seems like a really stupid deal for everybody on all sides. It's shitty for the developers because clearly they don't want to restrict any of the hard work that they've done from people, all because they're on a different platform and that's supposed to be cross-play and everything. And it still is. It's not like cross-play and all that shit is gone. It doesn't really matter. If Spec Ops never existed, it's like this wouldn't even be an issue, right? But it's the fact that they're just pulling content away from people. It's not like, oh, you'll get it in a week, 2 weeks, maybe even a month. Because before, I think back on the Xbox 360, it was like a month ahead or something like that. That's why everybody had a 360 back then. For Call of Duty specifically anyway. Now it's just a whole year, and it's a whole year deal that won't even work out for them. It just doesn't make sense. It's like going to a restaurant, ordering a cheesecake for everybody at the table. Strawberry cheesecakes, let's just say. And everybody around you ends up getting the strawberry cheesecake, the strawberry on top with the strawberry jam or sauce or whatever the fuck is on it. And then when you get it, you just get a normal cheesecake. Yeah, the majority of the cheesecake is there. The main course is there. The main thing that fills your stomach up, the main thing that tastes good is there, but you're still missing the strawberry on top. You're just missing shit. And then the fact that you have to look around at other people just snacking on this succulent little strawberry, even if you don't give a fuck about that strawberry, it's just annoying that you just get less. And you are actually getting less if it's 1 year later, because nobody's going to be playing the game. Now, I say it like that not because I think Modern Warfare will fail, but that's just kind of how Call of Duty has been for over a decade. Once the new game comes out, the game before that one dies, if it hasn't already died within 6 months anyway. Like, I know that Activision wants to make money, but you guys can make money in a way better way than this. I don't get it. Sony or whoever the fuck is to blame for this whole thing. I mean, whatever, man. Whoever it is, I don't really give a fuck who's responsible for it. It's just a shitty situation. I don't care. I'm not gonna go out of my way to try to get people at Activision fired and shit. It ain't that deep for me, but yeah, I mean, it feels like a fucking scam, really. I know people that are full-blown just like stopping their pre-orders because of this. I think that's a little extreme, but you know, speak with your wallet, I get it. Hey, let me know what you guys think down in the comment section. I mean, clearly it's bullshit. I don't think anybody really agrees with this, but how many of you have actually even played the Spec Ops mode? I'm just curious. Like, I've played the Spec Ops mode, but I didn't exclusively play the Spec Ops mode is what I'm saying. Is there anyone that exclusively played Spec Ops? I haven't met anybody. I'm sure there are those of you out there. Make yourselves known. I'm curious now. Everything was smooth sailing up until this point. It's not make or break for me. I mean, you know, I got all this shit here, whatever, but it's a good game. I'm not gonna stop just because I can't play Spec Ops, but still shitty nonetheless.